let's look at the NSE 20 firstly, basically posting 0.15% in yesterday's session. So we did see some positivity coming through. We know that the NSE has gained extensively over the last year. Do you think that there's more room for upside?
Thank you for having me, Eleni. That is really encouraging to find that for the past 3 days, the index has been actually creating new highs. We had it first reach a 4,299 point mark. We had it yesterday again go up again to 4,305 points. And we see a return to equities by most of the fund managers, insurance companies, and also investors alike at the ground. They have hopes that the equity market will improve. And I think sentiments are optimistic come this year. We've already seen a massive increase from 3,200 points to the 4,300 now in May. So hoping the trend continues, we hope to see maybe even 5,000 points by the end of the year, if not being too optimistic.
And Robert, of course, we know that the earnings season also underway, and we've been seeing some really impressive numbers. What has really stuck out for you over the last 2 weeks? And we know that there's also a lot of corporate activity that is going on as well.
Yes, and that's not surprisingly so. I think the confidence stems from the fundamentals rather than any technical studies on the stocks. Because if you look at the economic climate in the country, it's very positive. We've had a lowered political risk ahead of the anticipated referendum in August. Things are looking positive. We've also had positive sentiments expressed by foreigners who are looking at Kenya as moving closer to democratization, with also the ICC prosecutor coming over and ensuring that justice will be served. So in short, the political risks low, economic optimism high.
Robert, also looking at Equity Bank and Safaricom, we saw extensive trades coming through for both of those companies. Equity Bank, though, a lot of positivity. The stock rallied 8% in yesterday's session. Safaricom, though, closing the day flat. Equity Bank, it's not only about the new technology advancements that we've been seeing from both Safaricom and Equity Bank, but also the fact that we've seen a loan being signed between Equity Bank and China Development Bank as well.
Yeah, in fact, that was expected. Equity seems to be in a lot of partnerships. We had the first with HFCK, which actually saw the share start a rally. We've seen now the M-Cashel launch, which is basically a mobile savings account. And this in itself could have been a major factor in its rally yesterday. We also have what you mentioned, the China Development Bank, one of the largest banks in China, give us, rather through equity, a 4 billion shilling loan to offer to small and medium-sized enterprises. And I think the thing here is the credit being offered to these enterprises is very attractive at between 7 and 9%. We don't have that in most banks. So this news comes as a positive relief to many. And I think this is the major factor determining the rally we saw yesterday in equity.
Robert, just looking at these lending rates that Equity Bank will be able to offer to its clients, it's not only about Equity Bank, though. We've been seeing a lot of banks coming to the fore and cutting those lending rates. So clearly the competitive environment is becoming even more rife in the banking sector.
Yes, indeed. And I think the first to start the pace was Barclays reducing theirs. And ever since, it's been a progressive thing. We've seen the other banks follow suit, all the banks listed on the bourse. Even other banks not listed on the bourse like Victoria Bank, Commercial Bank, follow suit and reduce their rates. We've had formerly considered conservative banks like Standard Chartered Bank also reduce their rates. And with this new move by Equity, we see a kind of, let's say, fight between maybe the corporate banks and maybe the other banks which actually target the smaller retail customers.
Well, while banks are looking pretty good, REA Vipingo coming under pressure, and this company is saying that it's expecting its earnings to drop by 25%. We know that it was hard hit by the drought. That is now changing, and it is expecting better earnings for the 2010 financial year. What are you expecting from REA Vipingo going forward? I mean, clearly you have to factor in that it is quite a risky business.
Indeed, it is. REA Vipingo, I think, is the largest sisal producing and dealing company we have in the country. And as any agricultural stock can testify, the good rains, the good rainy spell we've had from last year around October to date has actually been a good thing for the agricultural stocks, and we expect the next results come 2010 end should be positive for any agricultural stock, and I think REA Vipingo is no exception.
Okay, we also have a interest rate decision today, and it is expected that we'll see rates unchanged at this stage. What is your view on that? And also just given the fact that the CBK came out and said that we have seen asset bases growing quite extensively for banks, in fact 14% higher. Yes,
that's really no wonder, because the economy has actually grown, and as earlier stated in a data report, that the inflation is even expected to go down further. So I think this news comes as a positive relief once again, and we look for more positive impact maybe in the coming few months.
Also, just give me your view on the shilling, given that it's coming under significant pressure. Again, as I mentioned earlier, it is about emerging market currencies that we are all taking a knock, basically because of all the risk aversion that's coming to the fore.
Yeah, the shilling has moved above the dreaded 78 against the dollar mark, and we think this is basically is a temporary thing. I think we might see it get back to the usual below 78 point mark, and I think this also has a lot to do with what's going on internationally, though we don't see most of the international factors affect us as much as East Africa. But what you should note is that most of our foreign exchange earners depend on this cross. It depends on the Kenya shilling dollar cross. For example, the horticulture industry, which actually is suffering a blow in the flower sector. But all bets should be good, and I think we should be a bit more optimistic, and we should see this as a passing cloud.